We are back. I finished some salsa and some chips. I have
Hello, everyone.
I have some tea, and we're picking up where we left off here, which is narrative time montage, as it was referred to in chat. We can do
Yeah.
some role play. That's fine. But for sure, before the session ends, I do want a mechanical discussion of your characters, and just as a DM, so I'm aware of how you want your character to grow. You know, what is a mechanical manifestation, whether it's a mechanical manifestation of a physical, emotional, or some other concept for your character. I want to know about any changes, if any, you are making to your character, and we'll talk about what's happening in this little bit of a leap. And if you want to get a bit into the psychology, that's fine. We don't have to do a super deep delve where everyone gets an hour on the couch, because we don't have an hour for everyone. But we'll go through the existing characters, and then we can have Derek be our piece de resistance. And as we're talking about building the team, as we're talking about who's bringing what to the table in the session 0, because I want to make sure, as the story presenter, as the dungeon master for you all, and especially here we are, you're level 10, it's been a year, maybe not to the day, but it's been a year since we started this game and are going from our first session 0.
Actually.
And I want this to be not a reset, but I want this to just be that, let's catch our breath, take our short rest, burn a couple hit dice, and then we're going to get right back to the story. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to randomly pick on one of you here. 4. All right, so Coffee, you are just the you're getting picked on here. So I want you to tell me about level 10 Mordecai. Are you bringing any mechanical changes, or what? Are you looking for any little exceptions? Because I am willing to bend some things as the DM if it's appropriate for your character and the things that you're striving for, and so forth. Tell me about level 10 Mordecai.
The only thing I really changed was a little bit of spell lineup, and then that feat defensive duelist, I took it out and took the ASI instead. So that's really all I changed. Aside from that, thematically and mechanically, he still works the same. So.
Okay, so not too much.
No, just rearranging of some spells.
Okay, and you didn't really get to use defensive duelist all that much anyway, so it's not a huge stretch that you found a couple muscles or some twitchy tendons where you didn't have them before.
No, instead I took 1 point in charisma and 1 point in intelligence for ASI.
Okay.
A little bit smart, a little bit more persuasive.
Yep.
After all that you've been through, now chronologically, it's been it hasn't even been 2 months, in game time.
Right.
But because you all have been subjected to supernatural forces, immense stress, all these effects, is there anything cosmetically about Mordecai that I should know of, or that the audience can note, where are his eyes a little darker and baggier from either, just his relentless endurance as an undead, or as a manifestation from the blood that you're consuming? It just sort of kind of darkens the eyes and such, or do you look tired and haggard, or do you actually look resolved and a stern chin? Maybe you're starting to get a little cleft, you're getting a butt chin kind of a thing going on, or
aesthetically he doesn't really look all that different because of the kind of agelessness that I kind of headcanon vampirism to be, and so he doesn't really look all that different, but he might feel a little weathered when it comes to his just presence. So
are you still going to pursue wearing kind of garish clothing and keeping your hair fancy, or are you going to military cut and no nonsense or something?
Oh No, he's
Oh, no,
still
they-
going to be garish, and he's still going to be fabulous, and still going to be just as.
As soon as he can change
Colorful
out
as
that Shadowheart
ever.
uniform, he will.
Oh, he's out of the uniform. He is wearing his regular clothes with the Shadowheart tunic underneath it. So he looks normal now.
Just
Mordecai
as more
normal,
armor
anyway.
class.
He looks just as Mordecai normal as ever.
All right.
Just maybe has a little bit more, quote, years under him as far as presence goes.
As a reflection of the time that you have spent on the road in battling and coming to terms with yourself and others and circumstances, and with the 1 to 9 Mordecai, although we barely not even knew a level 9 Mordecai, we kind of made a jump, but still, what is one skill or even a tool proficiency that you think that you would have developed along the way that you do not already have proficiency in?
I don't already have proficiency in.
I may be open-minded to a language if you want to pick up a language, or but tell me how can Mordecai grow in a skill set, a tool of the trade, or to pick up a language of some kind?
I would say oh, that's a tough one. Trying to think, because
I don't know if you have training in survival, but you've definitely been doing a lot of tracking, a lot of, kind of stalking and hunting.
I've already got that.
You have that already? Okay.
Yeah.
You've been around a lot of people who've been involved in the arcane. Do you have that as a knowledge skill that you have proficiency in?
Arcana is actually an expertise of mine.
Oh, all right then.
And so I have so many proficiencies, like skill proficiencies would be something
Yeah,
that-
as the law bard, he gets
Yeah.
6 just from class, 2 from background.
Well,
I would
it could be a
say-
tool of some kind.
I mean, I've been wanting to take a shield, and maybe had done some training in how to actually wield that properly at some point.
That is a thing that you did mention in the desert that to Celine, like Mordecai mentioned it to Celine that he wanted to pick up a shield, and Celine was like, "Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I can teach you how to use a shield."
All right. Well then, for the others, and Derek, this would include you as well. I think it would make sense. Mordecai wants to learn how to use a shield. If I were to grant him as a DM a boon of giving him shield proficiency, do you feel that this is appropriate to his character, in game or mechanically? Do you feel that this, and this isn't supposing Coffee that you're trying to dupe me or you're trying to be sneaky or anything, but to open this up because I want you all in each other's characters together for the party. For the rest of you, do you feel that giving Mordecai a shield proficiency, and something that I'd want you to roleplay into as well, but would that somehow break the character or the mechanics of the game, in your all's opinions?
Not particularly.
No, not particularly.
Um,
Especially since he get like when he gets his next ASI, he could very easily take moderately armored and gain shield proficiency and medium armor as well. So
the fact of the matter is that on a mechanical level, shield only adds on a 10% chance increase of not getting hit. It's the to hit modifiers that we're probably going to end up dealing with, if we're talking strictly mechanics, are so high that we basically have like maybe a 20% chance not to get hit with the average armor class that I roughly calculate amongst the party. I mean, it's so ridiculous that 10% hardly bumps anything. The other thing is that Mordecai is, well, at this point, like, he primary caster, no question, but has someone in the party who can teach him. So story-wise, there's absolutely no qualms there. Like, learning to use a shield effectively is like maybe like 3 or 4 weeks training and then just developing muscle memory. To use it extremely well, offhand weapon and all that kind of stuff, that's a different story. But as far as like for basic defense and what have you,
now that could interfere with casting as a heads up, because it's not the feat, it's not like war casting. So
that's what I was gonna say. If you have a weapon and a shield in both hands, and you don't have Warcaster, you can't cast spells.
True.
Or
typically wouldn't have his weapon out at that point.
or if you're a swords bard and can use your weapon as a spellcasting focus, because I know they get to do that as a special thing.
But he's not.
He's not. So he's lower bard.
Oh, all right. Dark Wolf, are you okay with this as a in character and a mechanical benefit to Mordecai?
Yeah,
Unless you guys have other suggestions, because
well, especially for Mordecai, he's always concerned about protecting the rest of the party.
yeah,
Since we didn't have any melee characters for a while.
he's
I
always
mean, the
been
only melee
like
character really was
protecting.
Celine.
Yeah.
Right. Bright was melee.
Oh yeah, no, Bright was in melee. Doing a lot of melee. What was like shocking grasp and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-magical.
The poor wizard being forced to run up the front,
Yeah.
touch things with her very shocking hands.
The only other thing that I would say is something to benefit him when it comes to healing others, because role-wise, he's kind of leaning in that direction. So, but that's been his shtick this whole time. So,
Yeah. I mean, the only person who gets like stuff from healing really is a life cleric.
yeah.
And then there are a couple of others that do get like empowered healing, like divine soul sorcerers and stuff like that. But meh. Divine soul is close enough to a cleric to get access to the cleric with. But no, I don't see any issues with a shield proficiency. As I said, especially since there is someone to teach him the proficiency, so he could spend the downtime actually learning. So there's a mechanical opportunity, because that's the thing that you can do in downtime is learn proficiencies
Yes.
if there is someone to train you, which
Yes.
there is. So I'd 100% say that's fine.
Well, then it seems that you have the blessing. Although, Dark Wolf, you were going to say something about shields.
No, I was just saying that he's already was thinking of being a protective character. So.
Okay.
But the only person he'd be protecting with a shield is himself, because protection fighting style is not
I
something
know.
that he can take.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Then go ahead and you can add shield proficiency to Mordecai, and
So it's terrible.
What?
So protection is terrible.
Yeah, protection is pretty bad.
And you can
I have a protection.
you have
amazing.
a goal to use shields. I mean, I'll give you the shield proficiency, but I will rely on you to try and bring this up in your training or in your narrative, or as you present Mordecai, to bring this into him as this gift of training and going out of your way. However you do it, it's your character. I'll leave it up to you. But if we're going to incorporate shields into him, do so in a way that is Mordecai.
Yep.
Okay.
The most flashy of bucklers.
It would be the most swash.
All right. What's Bright doing then mechanically? What is a level 10 Bright to us?
She's gonna learn some more spells.
Yep.
normal spells that she would learn at level 10. That's all.
Oh, okay. No shifting
Just-
schools. No rearranging ability scores. Do you want to stop being a gnome? You want to be a halfling?
I'll be a half-orc barbarian now. But otherwise, no.
Sure, you could
I
be
really
a
love
half-orc barbarian with wizard spells. I don't know if you can cast them, but you'll have them.
The only way I'm okay in this is so long as the half-orc barbarian keeps the floofs.
Half-orc with floofs. Nope,
Yep.
nope, no changes. Everything is fine the way it is.
I don't know. Like you could probably get some like 2 big pigtails in your chest hair or something. Just sort of, Okay, so Bright's going to continue down the path of being a divination wizard. All right. Oh, you're not flirting with illusion or anything anymore?
I mean, I was, but I mean, we kind of walked that back. So no.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I don't know if you still wanted to, gonna play footsie under the table or something with that, but all right. Well, that's short and sweet, just like Bright. All right. Is there was there anything else you wanted to add? I'm sorry, real quick before I guess we're gonna go to Norali next. But is there anything like a skill that you wanted to develop over this? Did you want to swap anything or look into?
I don't really want to swap anything, but if you're giving out free skills, I would take one maybe.
Yeah, if you want a skill or a tool proficiency, or if you want an extra language.
I mean, Draconic is tempting, very tempting, but no. I think for skill, the choices would either be stealth or investigation. Those are 2 things that Bright does a lot of. And I don't know, what do you guys think would be more appropriate? I know investigation is better for the party because no one has it. But aside from that, what do you guys think?
I think investigation would be appropriate because of how much investigating Bright does in general.
Yeah.
She's kind of
mention Bright's been
brains.
doing a lot of sneaking and investigating, searching and analyzing clues, and she's been doing a lot of that. So I think it would be a lot of brainy, a lot of investigation. So I would imagine, that fits very, very well for her.
I dig investigation, but that's just me.
I do also dig it.
Dark Wolf, Derek, you have any insight, or you want to give blessings to investigation?
What I was planning on, it kind of goes a little bit of overlap, but Bright's earned it. Planned out. And I have no problems on Bright taking it. It just makes sense.
Okay. Investigation it is.
Investigation it is. And having redundancy on skills in a party isn't a bad thing either.
Yeah,
no, redundancy is very good.
Especially because that could offer advantage in some circumstances. So, I mean, if you had a character, Derek, that was going to take an investigator route, that's for the party's benefit as well as your individual character.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
Bright's already smarter than I'll ever be, and probably smarter than any character I'll ever play. So,
I mean, I can also do stealth. Stealth is totally thematic because I'm doing almost as much sneaking as I am investigating, and it's very thematic for gnomes. And I mean, a lot of kind of the way Bright is seeing things for the world. She's really. Stuff I've talked to Matty about, stealth actually makes a lot of sense too. So if investigation overlaps with Derek and stealth doesn't, I have no problem taking stealth instead. That's just as good.
No. You don't change your initial pick on that assumption.
Neither one was my initial pick. They were both my initial pick. That's why I threw it out.
She did throw them both out there, yeah.
Well,
Bright's like, well,
here's an idea. We play a game with a lot of dice. Why don't we just roll a d2 for it?
I will say that
We're rolling a coin?
So.
Yeah, I'll roll a coin. Heads I win, tails you lose.
Love that song.
Okay, so 1 is investigation and 2 is stealth.
It's stealth. Yeah.
It's stealth.
Stealth it is.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, so Norla, you must be rubbing off on Bright here.
I think honestly that's an easy way of doing it.
Together.
You have you've had plenty of sleepovers and talking about the world and
sneaking away from vampires, going invisible.
Yeah, yeah. That's a sisterhood. You just don't go invisible with anyone. That's like going steady. All right, so Bright is now stealthier for her interactions apparently with Norlai here. Just as Mordecai is inheriting some shield skills from Celine. And now let's pop over. Unless there's anything else you want us to know about level 10 Bright, Fluffy Sheep. You don't have to give away everything because things will role play out as they do. But if there's anything you want to talk about, or at least let me, and anyone else know.
I had a couple questions about spell rulings, but I don't remember them right now. So let me think about it, and I might get back to you in a minute.
Okay, and Coffee, I know that you had a question similar as well.
By the way, there's a new picture up.
Yes. Did I? I don't remember what it was. Something about counterspell.
Yeah.
I think, but I didn't end up taking counterspell. So
okay. All right.
So counterspell is one of those spell questions that I had. So,
okay.
So thanks for reminding me. So if you have someone cast a spell and I want to counter it, how do I know what spell they're casting?
Yeah, there's not really hard and fast rules for that in 5th ed like there was in what 3rd you had to make a spellcraft check.
I'll tell you what I do in my game.
Mm-hmm.
And you can decide if you like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to use your reaction to identify the spell. And you can use the same reaction to cast the counterspell. But either way, you use up your reaction.
Usually the way that I play is if you're gonna counter a spell, you don't necessarily need to identify it first. It's just you have to know someone's casting a spell.
Yeah, that's how I do it too.
Yeah, no, that's also
so subtle spell would
range kind of makes up for that because it's only like 30 feet, 60 feet.
Yeah.
I would also say that I would also be fair and be like, if you do want to identify the spell, because there is a rule that they added in Xanathars where, as a reaction, you can make an Arcana check.
And that rule is pants.
Yeah.
It's what?
So honestly, yeah. So I mean,
it's a bad rule.
Like.
So the official ruling is, it's so incredibly dumb. You can use your reaction to identify the spell, but it can't be the same person who's countering the spell. So you can't identify the spell and then decide to counter it. Somebody else can identify it, and then they can tell you what the cast is, and then you can use your reaction to counter it. It's
using
so stupid.
2 reactions.
Gotcha.
So
that's 2 reactions from the party in any given moment.
It's 2 reactions, and it's just not it's not plausible because if you don't have time to identify the spell yourself, you don't have time to wait for somebody else to identify it, and then they can tell you, and then you can counter it. Either you counter it or you don't.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. That's the way that I rule. Is you either counter it or you don't. You
anyway,
kind of gamble.
I let them do the Arcana. It's the Arcana versus their caster DC to see if you can identify it, and then as part of that same reaction, I let them counter or not. Whether it succeeds or fails. If it fails, you don't know. You can still counter it. If it succeeds, then you can decide.
I try and end up keeping it fairly mechanically simple. Declare the casting action, and ultimately, counterspell really isn't a spell when you think about it. All it is literally just hucking a monkey wrench into it. Right?
Yeah.
And you're just hoping that the placement of that monkey wrench is enough to hit something critical that the spell doesn't work as intended.
That's how I play it, yeah.
So, and I'm very much a fan of ease of play. So, my 2 cents is that if you're doing counterspell, it's just, hey,
just do it.
Here's what's being done.
You don't need to know what the spell is.
The roll to counter the spell is kind of goes into that, yeah.
Although what I would do is I would probably do it. I'd probably do it.
The thing about making it like that is that you have certain flaws because the level of the spell being cast is, or like whether it's even something you would want to counter. So counterspell is pretty bad if you have to do it blind, because you don't even know what level to cast it at.
I mean, that's the point, though.
Well, the way I would do it is
really
like
bad.
this. I would do it. I would do it. Honestly, I would do it the same as you would DM it, Fluffy. But I'd reverse the thing, so you're spending your reaction on the counter spell and you're getting the Arcana check for free. So it's like, you spend your reaction to counter spell. It's like roll to identify the spell first if you so desire.
Well, all right. So there's a couple options, and I think you all have, you all have opinions on this. So let's we'll discuss this in our chat room. And we'll come to a consensus, because this, while it is my call as a DM, it's a call that could affect everyone in the game, because you can cast counterspell, and my monsters or my big bads can cast counterspell too. And I think it would be important to have a consistent, even if it's house ruling, that's fine. But that way we're all on the same page, because you're if you noticed, it wasn't just
Whoops. That clicked something that was not meant to.
Celine, you're just trying to defend yourself from being evil and heartless, and you're just randomly vampiric touching people. And we're not even role-playing. We're not even in character, and you still want to vampiric touch people. And if you have advantage, you just quit that.
You think
not going evil. Not going evil.
Bright, we're rolling it this way, and just you start sucking the life energy as you're shaking her.
That's terrible.
Okay, so all the questions I have about spell rulings I'll take offline, because this does seem to be causing a rabbit hole. So let's forget about those things, and we can do them all.
Yeah, because you have encountered spellcasting enemies. The Shadhar soldiers had spellcasters, not many, and the people, the Aslandian fort also had spellcasters. They're shooting magic missiles at the hull of your ship, let alone anything else that could come up. So spellcasting isn't just reserved for the party. As you're going to encounter more and more of this, and you're encountering magical beings. Fae have spells. The vampires and others might have spells. So, all right, yeah, we'll get on the same page for that. All right. So yes, I do want to address that. So we are all playing under the same umbrella. Ella, hey. All right. So now we're over to Norlai. Norlai, talk to me about. Welcome to level 10. Who knew?
Yep.
What are you looking to swap or change, or
so
you want to be a dragon blood, give up the chaos?
No. Because I didn't officially get my level 8 stuff, I have Thorn Whip and resistance from Druid with a Magic Initiate feature.
Okay.
I also have Speak with Animals from that.
Okay.
I swapped out, I think it was Blade Ward for Mage Hand, which in the story I learned that from Bright. We spent all that time together.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then I learned Message because I cannot learn Sending, so I learned Message.
That brings up a good point. I am downtime making something so that you can.
Yeah, but on paper I cannot.
Okay, no, that's fine. It makes sense. So you and Bright were whispering things as you shared a tent, hiding from vampires.
Yep. Then I took part of that level 8 was I had some access to some druid spells, so I have Conjure Animals. And then for my level, or for the level 10, 9 and 10, I took Telekinesis. And I took Call Lightning from the druid.
Okay. And you are with this. Are you going to show us? Are you going to show us some sparks? Are you going to start lighting up? Leave some lightning when you run now, or?
I do run a lot.
I like all the lightning themed things for Norlai.
I do too.
Yeah. That's her whole shit.
Okay, but you want to incorporate this sort of, well, I mean, you have this kind of druidic blend with your spells, which makes sense. I mean, you've been caring after the plants and animals, and in its own way, your magic is supernatural in its manifestation.
Supernatural.
Yes. So I'm fine with. I mean, the things you took through the feet, what you get it through the feet mechanically, everything is fine. So you're just kind of bending things to go for call lightning, which then I'll I want you to play up. I want you to role play into, if you want sparks to kind of shoot from your horns when you're getting ready to cast like any spell or anything or whatever. It's your character. You bring flavor to it. But if you want to go in this direction, I'm fine. You've role played through a lot of this, and so I want to see you carry. If I'm paying you up front by allowing for the spell, repay it on the back end by just role playing through it, describing it with your character. And we'll see maybe if this brings about not only just some cosmetic changes, but maybe some personality changes if you're going to start going on the offensive a little bit more and not just run. You can always run. All of you can always just run. Don't ever take that off the battle.
Another thing that was changed. I never used subtle spell as a feature.
Oh, okay.
And I had swapped that out for distant spell. And then, as part of the level up, I also took Quicken Spell.
Sure.
So, I'm fasting away.
Yeah.
I'm expecting some bonus action call lightnings and lightning bolts.
Norlai is Norlai. You're growing up so quickly. You're changing, and your body's going through changes.
Even with Quicken Spell.
Oh no, I'm not talking about both at the same turn. I'm just expecting one of those spells on a turn to be quickened at any one point in time.
All the way.
I kind of
was gonna say that's a little OP.
Well then, Norlai, I'm excited for this. Now, do you have a skill or a tool or even a language?
Animal handling, please.
Okay.
I am not
I guess I'm fine, but you know what? We got to run that by your peers just to make sure. Animal handling.
It's thematically appropriate.
Wait,
it's fine.
what does Norlai do with animals?
I'm calling BS. She's not a druid.
Despite my druidic spells.
Or a ranger.
Screw rangers. They don't exist.
Fair enough. Honestly, like if you're running PHB only, if you're not playing a hunter, you're not really playing a ranger because Beastmaster is just.
Anyway, I have no problem with it.
Thematically, it's appropriate.
Thematically, it's very appropriate. So.
All right, take your animal handling and get out of here. Get out of here. Boom! Lightning.
+1 to a +5.
Oh, Matty, I did have a quick question for you about teleportation circle.
Okay.
Which 2 sigils can I learn right now?
Because you get to learn a couple of sigil sequences when you first take the spell.
I will give you. I'll talk to you because there would be a network set up. It's a spell that exists. People use it. It's not very popular for traveling for various reasons, but sure. Make sure in a private message put a bug in my ear about that, and we can talk about learning the sigil combinations for different places. So I can present to you a menu, and you can choose from that what you'd like. And with Mr. Halver, he might even be able to go outside of the common, like, here's the public use portal for the city or something. If you want to go back to the Dragon Graveyard, like he might be able to give you coordinates for that ritual spot or something like that. But yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. And if you have ideas for things that might be a little out of the way given your adventures or something, bring that up too, and I'll see if it's feasible. All right, let's go over to Celine. What is level 10 Celine looking like, besides partially skeletonized?
Yes, partially skeletonized Celine. Yeah, no, I've made no changes.
Okay, so you're still sticking with Death Domain?
Death Domain.
Okay.
Most definitely. Honestly, that is quite her shtick. Is, you know.
No swapping feats or ASIs or anything like that.
No, nothing of that sort.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Celine is kind of just on her path.
Okay. You're definitely not vanilla. You're a very Neapolitan character, I suppose.
Very Neapolitan.
But it's very, so you're Neapolitan, but it's a traditional Neapolitan. Okay, so she pretty much just increased up to level 10, and there you go.
Yep, exactly right.
Okay, though I will still offer you, do you want to have proficiency in a tool or an extra language, or do you want to pick up a skill?
A skill would actually be very pertinent here. Performance, in fact.
Performance? Well,
yes.
You do and have stepped up to people. You certainly assert yourself, and you do put on a grand show. So as a DM, I'm fine. I think it fits, and especially given your unique exterior now, having performance could help you if you're trying to suppress that, or enhance it if you're trying to show it off. So I'm fine with that, but let's go to a jury of your peers. Do you think that performance would be fitting for Celine to have proficiency in? Yes, no, maybe so. Something else?
I don't understand how you would use it.
Why? Yeah.
So the motivation, my motivation for is basically that. Well, first off, she's been spending a lot of time with Mordecai, and I think it very much comes out of a lot to as he understands her through the amount of blood of hers that she has drunk. She's making an attempt to understand him as well, and he is a bard. Bards perform. Not to mention, she has been doing a lot of acting as of late.
In the desert, you did cause a couple distractions.
Not to mention, even at the lower levels, she was doing a lot.
But was that really acting? I mean, really?
Adult actors are still actors. Come on.
Yeah. Or at least I would say so. No, so she has someone she can learn the skill from. I mean, you have expertise in performance, don't you, Mordecai?
I do. It's a +12.
Yeah. So she's got a really good person to learn from.
Well, should anyone not wish Celine to have this skill, speak up. Or
if she wanted to learn
peace.
An instrument from him, she could too.
Yeah.
That was actually
an instrument instead of a language.
That was actually going to be. That was actually going to be my second choice, but I figured that given Celine's entire thing with hymns and whatnot being very religious, her main instrument is her voice.
Okay,
so it's more using her voice for more performance purposes.
All right.
I'm down with that reasoning.
Then, if the collective is the hood is all good within it, okay. I then, hearing no objections, Celine, I hereby bequeath you proficiency in performance.
Thank you.
And is there anything else that we should know here? Are you getting a new haircut? Are you are you sort of changing up your look?
He has a changed face.
Yeah, but this is more a self, like, wow, I can actually, stop and think of myself, and, like some people just, like, change their hairstyle after a life event or something, like,
No, she's not going to change her hairstyle or anything like that.
All right. Then
she's got to enough physical change for one lifetime.
Very well. Then let's go to Derek, and what? And now we will introduce your character for sure, and so some of that might come out there. But is there anything that you want to bring up or talk about mechanics or balance out or to put out on the table as we're talking mechanics of a character?
As far as mechanics, don't know. Never experienced this character before. So I have absolutely no baseline to end up making any requests or anything of the like. And ultimately, everything as far as how it's going, 90% of it is just reflavoring work. That's all it is.
Okay.
So, reality, I have no grounds for any requests at this point.
I guess, do you have questions about how things work? Or do you have questions about the mechanics or anything?
Not really. I mean, reality is I have don't get me wrong, I would love to be able to pick and choose some things, but reality is vanilla, I don't even know on how well it works out from a player perspective. I know how well it works as a GM, but at this point, it is what it is. So I have absolutely no requests or anything that seems particularly appropriate.
Okay. Then what I would like is, as your character has been on this path to come to this point, you would have undergone your own mental or physical trials, tribulations. You would have been upset and had triumphs and learned and developed along the way. So if there is one more skill, tool, language, or an instrument that you want to play, something along those lines that you didn't, you're like, should I get this or that? There's that one more thing that you would like to add to the character as a reflection of that character and everything that you've come through to get to be level 10, which, you're not in a mechanical sense. Level 10 is you're in the upper echelons of society. There's not a lot of people mechanically that are betters in a because 90% of the people are farmers, are the peasantry in a similar agricultural based society. So is there that one more thing that you'd like to add to the character? In a grand sense of fairness, but it's not like it's breaking the character, but this is for flavor and development. Is there another skill or a tool or something along those lines you'd like to add?
No, not really. As far as how the character is built out, there's nothing much I can add without it being into hey, I can end up saying I can end up grabbing this or this or this, and reality is with no play experience, haven't even had a chance to feel it out, not having an opportunity to level and work them up to this level. It's just, hey, here you suddenly at level 10. I have no grounds with this character to make any requests whatsoever.
Well, then how about I give you a rain check, and after we get to play with this character for a bit, maybe go through a couple combats, you get to try out some techniques, some mechanics, some role play and whatnot. We'll hold a place, and if you feel that there's that one thing, whether it's playing an instrument, learning a language, using a tool, or having another skill available, then we can slot that into the character once you have some experience.
All right.
Does that work with the rest of you all? To kind of give a range check on that plus one ability? Okay.
I think that's fair, considering everyone else here got everything.
Sure. Okay. Do any of you then have any sort of questions for me regarding the timeline or the lore or the maps or some structures, societal structures or law or states of something or anything that could help you come to fruition as your individual character or as an identity as the party or the overarching goal of what you'd like to pursue? Because there are avenues open to you. I mean, you're a non-governmental organization. The Chroma Company isn't exactly a fighting force on behalf of anyone other than yourselves. You have freedom to choose, which is what a lot more than many other people get. And so this is a war being fought on several fronts. You know, if as I'm saying this, I'm also wanting to make sure that as a DM, I can present to you what you would like to play through. And by that, do you want to run more of a... Not that there wouldn't be combat, but you want it to be more politically savvy. You want to, rub elbows with the hoity-toities and the muckety-mucks. And you want to, to spin your own grand web to try and save or manipulate Mesomasca or Mesotopia as a whole? Or do you want to join up? Like, do you want to become sort of a military attaché force and be sent out on missions that are going to put you on the front lines, to be vampire hunters or fae stalkers, or do you want to be sent out to the desert? I hear there's a fort that needs some recruits. You could join an army and fight the Shadowheart soldiers, or you could, if you really wanted to, you could split Mesotopia and go out into the wilds. I have maps of the wilds. When we were doing this on stream, the campaign went beyond just Mesotopia with Operation Welcome Mat, which was to push up into the Shadowheart Empire itself. If you wanted to infiltrate it or something, if that's engaging. Or there's apparently dragons. Who knew? There's dragons that exist in the world, and those could be an uncovered mystery, especially because there's the giants who also shared a culture and a land with the dragons, who are, seemingly on the cusp of being able to sort of tear themselves back into reality. There's a lot of things that you can do. Can you try and do them all? I won't stop you. You'll probably be more potent if you choose, a focus, something like one thing you want to pursue. But I want to make sure that I'm running the type of game that you would like to play with the characters that you have. And I'm not looking for specifics like, we're going to go, 24% combat and 17% political intrigue. And, but I want to know where to take this.
I think my biggest thing is I want out of the game to feel like a hero.
Okay.
That is my only request. Aside from that, that is all I want.
Anyone else have specificities, notions, or do you really have it out for the vampires and you want to make that the by solving the vampire problem, you might very well also make a major blow against the fae. Who knows? But do you really want to root out the vampires and have that be your central pillar, or something along those lines? You just want to retire to a farm with your gold and just just settle down.
What's the point of playing D&D? Yeah.
Well, then it becomes
D&D Stardew Valley version.
Yeah, then we're just gonna play Stardew Valley. It's economic resource management, and we'll make trade routes. And
terrible.
It's terrible unless you're a Ventru, and then it's just the game.
That very nearly happened in my game. Everybody's like, hey, let's start a Yeti farm. And at first it was a joke, but then they started doing it.
Yeti farm.
That reminds me of something that I won't talk about on stream that I allowed one of my players to do, which it was a farm of some sort, but
yeah.
Hey, look, at one point I had a human farm, okay?
So... Yeah, no, it was a human farm, but human turkey, not humans.
Look, You know,
he was cannibal. Cannibal.
But then at the last minute, they decided not to be Yeti farmers and instead be pirates, which is much more appropriate.
Sounds a lot more fun.
In almost no other context with that sentence that actually makes sense, but it makes perfect sense here. That's why I love this game.
Okay.
At the last minute, they weren't Yeti farmers; they were pirates, and I was so relieved. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Derek.
It's all right. Okay. As for what it's a little difficult for me, right? Because, like, speaking openly, I tried. So the two key things and I'll just use both the characters I've played thus far as examples of this, right? The key thing with Jade was basically written as whatever you want to throw us at, wherever you want to go, she'll go, right? She has a reason for it built in by default, just based on her psychology, right? But then it kind of got really freaking muddled. So we ended up trying to going the other way around, right? Building a character that this character sets a goal and they are single-tracked on it. And didn't really get anywhere with that, mostly on the fact that, we got tossed out in the desert and didn't make it back. But, so, I'm not sure where to even begin on this. When it comes down to what I'm gonna try with this character, what does Derek want to do, like, regardless of what the party wants to do? What does Derek want to do? Derek wants to end up seeing, like, okay, are these vampires like a court, or are they more feral in, men's clothes? Are they dead, monsters wearing the faces of dead men kind of individuals? What is that like? What's going on there? Do not only research, but have to interact with them, be able to see, like, okay, well, what's the, how do we end up using Mordecai's bit? Have Mordecai, like, be able to drive Mordecai into their, the belly of the beast, and, if there's anybody who's going to know about this stuff, it's going to be vampires, right? What does their lore say? What do they think? What are their stories? What are they afraid of, right? These are the key points on just that. And then there's the Fae, right? I would love to end up going into the Feywild because I don't understand it, right? I try to portray it. I like the concept of it, but I've never seen it executed, right? So I can only go off of what I've read. I can only go off of what I've researched independently. I mean, hell, in the Feywild, in my world, literally a knoll got split open, right? As soon as the body hit the ground, all the organs crawled out and started going into the earth. Everybody's like, what the hell happened? Well, how would you feel if you were stuck in a cage for, however long he's lived, stuck there in the wet dark for how long? Wouldn't you want out too? Right? Strange stuff like that, where it's like, I guess that makes sense, but, I never thought of the world from the perspective of an internal organ before. I don't know what the world's like in that regard. I want to figure out, like, and I think one of the things is, like, the two best plots, in my opinion, running, are Norlai, mostly on the fact that, okay, we're seeing progress, right? There's something to get excited there, and we realized, oh, there's, your brother is here. There's something we can do. And Norlai says, okay, yeah, I want to take out Shononoth. I'm like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
Player said that, just to point out.
Yeah, okay, just to be fair. Yeah, Awu said that, take out an Eldritch God. Okay, I don't even know how we'll even start to do that, but I guess we can try. We have that plot, and then we have Mordecai, where we kind of had this starting to look for a cure, some way to end up reverting it, but now the question is
that's what
like, yeah, Mordecai just kind of I think at this point, Mordecai's just at this point of acceptance, because time and time again, his efforts keep getting shut down. I shouldn't say shut down. It's just he has no ground to step on, right? So now it's kind of like this lost hope situation, and trying to figure out, well, what does that make Mordecai? And trying to tie all this in, right? Like, for what I want to end up doing, I love politics. I haven't built a character that works for them now. I literally built this character for need of the party, right? But I love politics. I love information gathering. I love piecing together puzzles, and right now, it doesn't feel like one puzzle we're trying to solve. It feels like we're trying to solve 20 different jigsaw puzzles, and somebody ended up taking all the pieces and threw them all in the same box and shuffled it up. So we're not even sure what we're looking at 90% of the time until, like, oh, that fits here. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how far do we end up going on this? Or, like, am I missing something? Because there have been points where I've legitimately asked, like, am I playing this game wrong at this point? Because I'm not sure. And I'm excited for stuff with Vampire. I'm excited for the stuff with Fae. Don't get me wrong, every time when it comes down to Show the North, it's kind of like, ooh, my brainchild. Right? So obviously my ears perk up there, but I don't want to ever force that on the party, Things I know are very different from what others might end up knowing, or how I interpret it. And so, as far as I'm concerned, that particular plotline that has been passed on to Norlai, and seeing what happens there. And I'd like to end up seeing this stuff, because looking at when each character's at their best, right? Almost universally has been whenever it's never been here's the big overarching world ender, right? It's always been those tiny moments. It's been that moment with Tazare and Mordecai trying to come to grips. Those are that was compelling. Norlai coming face to face with her brother and not sure what she's looking at. I love those moments. I love that personal storytelling, because you can say, like, an entire group of how do I put this? An entire fort just got acid dropped, but those aren't people to us, right? Even though they are, they're, and so I would almost like to end up seeing, especially with Celine's ideology, right? What happens when something Celine actually cares about stands in direct opposition, right? How far will you go? And these are the questions that kind of come to mind. I love character exploration like that, and I think tying that into the politics, where you got to ask the big questions. What are you willing to end up pushing? How do you end up making the world a better place, and what exactly is a better place? And I want to see what Bright has to end up bringing to the table, because Bright is in this really weird position where there's fish out of water, right? I haven't run into too many gnomes. Like, outside of Bright, I don't have a sample of what another gnome might actually be like, right? So where does Bright come from? What's her hometown like? What do we end up dealing with there? I love those explorations, and that's kind of the stuff that drives me personally. I'm sorry, I'll get off. Here's your soapbox back, Matty.
No, I think you're exactly right.
Yeah, there's a lot of character, like, the draw is the characters for me. I want to explore the relationships between the characters, as well as, fight a thing and feel victorious.
Well, yeah,
a little bit, but
that's a part of D&D is to actually have that grid combat and get your ass whooped, but then celebrate with a beer afterwards and wipe the blood from your nose.
Exactly. That's the kinds of combat that I like in D&D. And so, if there's a way to merge the two, cool. Let's do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately, that's my job as the DM, is to take these considerations and to do my best to present a story, and to give you interesting combats that join it together and provide clues themselves, and to have things be meaningful. Because, I mean, if you noticed, heck, Mordecai, when you and Bright went hunting for a bear, it wasn't just a random encounter. That was a bonding moment. That was also a moment of discovery. And so it was a fight. It was kind of a fun, intense one for a little bit there, but it also had a story purpose. And so, yeah, I'm glad y'all are opening up about this, and because I can tie in, as the DM, I know everything that's going on in the world, and I can tie in things that you don't know to seem like that they're happening naturally, even if it wasn't necessarily as I expected. Because as I said last week, by all accounts, at the very beginning, you were supposed to choose the old man or the young boy, and that would sort of take you off into adventure. And instead, the party chose both at the same time. And that had me absolutely scrambling. I mean, hopefully I kept a poker face, but I'm like, what? I didn't expect this. I guess it's possible. Things are still going to happen as they're going to happen, but it'll be very interesting how they pull this off, or what will occur. And so, I mean, it set us on our path, and it's kind of been an interesting foreshadowing for things to come. And look, I know there's been sessions where y'all are like, is Tuesday done yet, or is it dud session, or I don't know, things were awkward or something didn't make sense. We all have them, and I'm fine to own the ones that I've presented here on stream. But overall, I hope I've been presenting you things that have been consistent. You can look back and have those moments where Derek via Jade understands why in session 2, when she met Noralai's brother, why he wasn't the same as she was, despite having presumably the same contract with the same outer world.
I love those aha moments. I regret that I wasn't the one to discover that, but no, I love those moments, right? And the thing that made that moment so good in my head is it's a question that was left, that was kind of dropped as a kind of a snide comment by Jade, but it was a question. And when Noralai picked it up, which was fantastic, it kind of turned into this moment where it's like realization and things just coming full circle in a way that mattered to the character, right?
It kind of tied the two characters together a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, the interlinking is, but you know me, strings and dominoes, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a perfect example of it.
Other thoughts or opinions, or we should go in this direction style thinking?
Well, I would say and ask, let's start with DW. Like, what is she looking for in this campaign? I present what I wanted.
I do not really know. I don't know. I'm a bit newer to D&D still, so I don't really know like what styles I like. Yeah.
What would you think would be cool? What do you think would be cool to do? If you want to ride and make a pet out of a frost giant, just say it now.
I do like my pets.
Right?
I don't really. I do like the more personal storylines and arc. Yeah, I think I'm a little less on the okay, we got to save the entire world thing, especially since in this party we have not done anything that would set us to like, oh yeah, we can save the entire world. We can.
Yeah, we feel so small.
We're so small. We're level 10 and we just feel so small right now. So yeah, the more personal stuff is what I like.
Yeah, and that can also be tied in, right? Like the personal, again, just because VTM background, right? When the personal becomes political, or in this case, right, normalized brother is tied to a larger thing. Well, what happens when we follow that trail, right? But now there's a personal motivation. There's a reason for Norlai to continue on that, and that might start tying into other players as well, right? You might need to be a little bit more heavy-handed on it, right? Because if that was already there, I think I might have missed it, and I kind of feel like a jackass for that. Because, like I said, it's right now that's one of the most compelling arcs we got going.
Anything else?
From me? No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I've just been listening. What do I want? It's a very good question. Because I'm not gonna lie, I have been enjoying the personal quite a large amount.
Quite a bit.
It
yeah.
makes me very much invested in the character and in the characters that we're interacting with. But I know that Celine's motivations, at the very least at the moment, are to lay these factions that wish to rob humanoid kind of their ability to choose low. And so I think like the kind of hybrid approach that we've been taking up to this point might be a good way to continue going on, so long as we have as we can decide amongst ourselves where the first arrow is headed.
Yeah.
Deal the damage and then jump around.
In the context of what's been presented here, and especially by this moment in the game, to a reasonable degree, everything is happening at the same time, and they're all going to share a link in some way. The vampires may or may not be working with the Fae, but the vampires and the Fae are still going to butt heads, whether it's on a species level or competition for bodies, or just on the fact that they're both from the same strata in the timeline. And so if you've experienced a bit of Feywild, as was manifest in the mine. And, but generally you all haven't really had too many interactions with the Fae. The the danger they present, and you kind of know a goal of theirs, and you know some of their history.
Yeah.
But let's say you said as a party, you know what? We're going to choose. Now, it may not be the right choice to get to some ultimate end goal. It could be the second fastest instead of the fastest. But if let's say you chose to pursue the Fae, which in character and out of character is going to make sense, because this is going to help allow you to prepare for Fae encounters, to pool your resources, to build or act in a particular fashion. Because as you encounter the Fae, you'll have opportunities to brush against vampires, or to learn against vampires, or to set Fae against vampires. Or perhaps even the other way around. And ultimately, the Fae, as you learned in the timeline, were driven underground by the supposed appearance of Sho'nuruth in this meteor form that fell from the sky. Yeah. And so there's an intrinsic link from the Fae to Sho'nuruth.
Yeah.
And there's also the fact that the Shadowheart Empire is coming down, and the Fae weren't a part of the Empire, so any Fae that is encountered by the Shadowheart are probably not going to be as welcomed as vampires. And yet, if you take a look at Mordecai as a vampire, he's not in the thrall of a Shadowheart overseer. You know, he harbors no sort of genetic adherence to the colors or the symbols or the stripes. And so, you know, you could still encounter the Shadowheart through the Fae, you know, if you choose to go through the Fae. And you might end up learning different things, but you'll still address it. But you're not, you know, so you're not going on a military excursion in the desert or elsewhere, or, you know, doing hit and run tactics out in the wilds or something. But so too, let's say that, you know, in another dimension, you said, you know what, let's just play, you know, knockdown, drag out, tactical combat. We're gonna take the fight to the Shadowheart Empire, and we're gonna have guerrilla warfare, and we want awesome battles, you know, that uses the terrain and unique features, and we want like underwater combat and all this stuff too. By going against the Shadowheart Empire, you're definitely going to be encountering either vampires or vampiric lore. You could also find out history in the timeline from, you know, the kind of the prehistory even of Mesotopia as it's currently settled. And because of the prevalence of Shadowheart agents, you know, you were told by Sophonics that Shadowheart agents are down in the Dragon Graveyard. They're marching and flying over the deserts of Aslandia. They're coming to Mesotopia or Mesomasca because they're rounding the corner up here in Kandor along the coast, and then they're coming in this way. And you can imagine that other agents of them have secreted themselves, you know, overtly or covertly
all
throughout. And so by wanting to hunt down or confront through politics or combat or something, you're gonna run into these other players, because even if the connection between the Fae and the Shadowheart is actually the most remote between all the factions, there's still gonna be encounters.
Something that
there's still, and you could learn the Shadowheart take on the Fae, and what do they think of them, and how do they combat them? Because you imagine the Fae don't care. The Fae will drag a Shadowheart soldier into the cave and convert him just like anyone else.
Yeah,
and wouldn't that be interesting?
Right. They don't care how they get their bodies.
And wouldn't that be interesting if now all of a sudden, what if the Fae pulled a grand trick and you encounter a Shadowheart Legion that's actually the Fae in disguise? And of course, what are the Fae but tricksters? And they could be stirring the pot. And so even the Shadowheart are like, well, this is a menace and we got to put him down. And you say, you know what? We agree. The enemy of an enemy. So I don't want you to feel like, I mean, sure, in the ultimate grand scheme of things, you might miss out on more content than another if you choose a general path. But you're still going to hit on almost everything. Some are going to be closer. Some connections are going to be more distant. But in this theater, everything still has to coexist, even if it's in conflict.
Yeah. I mean, my thought on it is that
you cut out there.
Yeah, you cut out there.
Apologies. So my main idea is that I feel like the easiest way, the way that I would go with personally, is that each of the each of the factions is out for what they want, but they don't. It feels like they don't particularly care for the common man. In the sense that of their goals, like they're willing to do whatever it takes to achieve them, really.
And what is the underpinning theme of this entire campaign so far?
Well, it's been will and choice.
The exertion of one's will.
Yeah, the exertion of one's will. So the way that I would very much want this campaign to go is that you know, we played that long game as our own faction. Because I mean, for the most part of the time, we've been so, you know, we've been.
I think we're thinking
very
too big of a scale because, like.
Well, I
feel like this is too much. There's just so much going on that it's hard to choose because it's just all there. And
this is why my main suggestion is that the way that the campaign should go is that the party should start rallying their own faction, because the Fae, like, we have two similar but different origined types of forces that we're dealing with. We're dealing with more cosmic forces that don't particularly care for humanoid kind, and we have a geopolitical force that doesn't particularly care for the people who live there, because in the end, if you're not standing by the fire, you're fueled for it, is really the main thing. So what I pose is that we do our best.
Let's not confuse what we want out of the game with how the party should approach the problems that we're facing.
Well, what I want out of the game is that you know, long game where we've started small, but we start, you know, ramping everything up and laying all of these factions low, one after another. That, you know, we get big enough to start being movers and shakers. That's kind of what I'm going for.
I feel like that's a little large scale.
That's a huge scale that I don't necessarily feel in character like we can accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is that's all part of it. Getting to that point in character that we will be able to accomplish it. Just like deciding that we're gonna take them all on and then start small from there. Because of course we'll encounter them all.
Choose one problem and then go for that, and then the rest will fall dominoes.
Yeah, that's the main idea.
If I understand, sorry. I was just gonna say, if I understand what Coffee Cat's getting out of that lethality is that you're kind of trying to discuss grand plan, right? Like the large overarching bit.
I want to know the small plan.
But
you'd be right now.
One of the things that is, and this is the problem that typically happens, right, is when you try and tackle the large plan, you don't really know how to go about it, because you might have an end goal, but where do we even start, right? Like, literally, where you stand right now, if this is what you wanted to do, what does Celine do right now? What is the first action, right? Because allies, who's the ally? There's not a single person who would actually end up stepping up to back you, right? What do we need to get that person? And this is where I think Coffee Cat kind of finds, like, that's where they want to end up starting, is like, give me a string to start with.
Well, give me save Mesomaska, then we save the world. That's
I think we already have that. We already have a relatively homegrown enemy, and a personal motivation within the party to deal with that enemy, and that's the vampires and the entire concept of vampirism. We have a vampire within the party. we have someone who's attempting to cure him.
We do also have those same motivations for the others, though, because Celine's infected with Fae, and then and Norali's
not necessarily super afflicted with it, though.
Not super afflicted, but Norali is also more built to take on Fae, although she really does not have motivation to.
This is all tactics and strategy, and who should we attack, and it should really be discussed in character.
Yeah.
And I think it's out of scope for this discussion.
Yeah,
I really do think it is. I mean,
like I suppose when we're talking about, you know, like what do I want out of the game, I think honestly the easiest thing that I could say is I want the fulfillment of the story, and that story is something that we are forging in character more than anything.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, a small scale mission would be something like save Tibber.
We would have followed that story plot till the end of the road until it went there.
Yeah. I mean, there's also the entire thing of.
That could have been the entire plot of the campaign.
It really could have been.
Yeah. I mean, there's also
I initially intended for this game to only last maybe like, you know, a couple months.
Well.
Yeah, it lasts a lot longer than
Same thing with my campaign.
Well, honestly, because we do have this world to play with,
this grand scale is a little bit too much.
My thought of it is, you know, a small scale mission would be something like Save Tibber, but it would also be, you know, we consider ourselves to be well, I mean, there's also the entire thing of we see ourselves at the moment, like in character, we see ourselves as a very, very, very small cog in the machine. The only way to get bigger is to get bigger. So a small scale mission would be, you know, consolidate local power. Like that is a small scale mission. Like,
what do you mean by that?
Well, when I say locally speaking consolidate power, what I mean is, like, you know, getting ourselves out there as like slowly build ourselves up. Yeah, making a name and slowly building up to, you know, be the kinds of people that the big players want on stage. Because that's how you get into the big leagues, is you have to make a name for yourself. We already have a party name. We were going around and doing small scale performances and getting paid and stuff like that. Like using Mordecai's bardic expertise as a means of doing that. Somewhat, you know, we're hearing about things, like, you know, like the healing words in Aslandir and things like that. That's just one part of it, one side of that small scale of making a name. Because, you know, you can make your name for ourselves as a performing troupe. You can make your name as anything. But the thing is that we need to start doing that, because for us to even have a chance at these grand machinations and stopping the grand machinations of the not necessarily evil, but the adversarial people or factions that have their eyes on Mesotopia and the world as a whole. Yeah, exactly. Taking down vampires in an area repulsive to Fae and ingratiating yourself to a wealthy and influential family with mysterious internal politics. That can, yeah, no, exactly right. That is exactly a really good place to start. I think, you know, that should be our small scale, is make ourselves known as people that can step up and do the big stuff eventually. And I know in character Celine has something that she's going to pose to the party regarding that, at least with one faction. Not necessarily one of the factions that we've been talking about, but one faction that does exist within the world.
Getting back on topic, though.
Yeah.
Is...
I reckon that's it's a good a place as any to start. And save Tibber, actually save Tibber would be that small scale mission that, you know, might kick that off in a different direction to where we've already been going. I mean, even if it is, if we start like taking monster hunting jobs, start, you know, someone's like, oh hey, there has been vampire reports or fae reports. It's just attacking all sides a little bit at a time, not necessarily having to pull anything big off to begin with. But
if the healing words are out there as a traveling band. Who's to say? I mean, you don't have to be a band, but who's to say that you don't want to be, you know, the Winchesters rolling around putting down monsters?
Yeah, that's kind of what I feel like we.
Because I mean, we haven't done a lot of that. We haven't actually done a lot of monster hunting quests and things like that. And I reckon like we all have vendettas against all three of those factions: the Fae, the vampires, the Shadowheart.
The Shadowheart so far, I don't even want to consider them right now.
Yeah,
they're so far away.
Right now, the thing is though that they're not. They're
everywhere.
Not.
They are.
Yeah, they're main forces, but the seeds of dissent are everywhere, and that's the kind of thing we should be the people who make the names for ourselves, weeding out these seeds that these powerful factions have decided to sow. And rob the choice away from the common folk. I think that should be, and at the very least, the Mesomaskin scale, doing that should be our way up from there. Yeah, that's a thing too. We don't even know if Tib is still alive. But that entire thing of the Mesomaskin, like, weeding out those seeds of dissent that have been placed amongst the common people by these larger factions, at least on a Mesomaskin level, should be our first port of call. Because if we do that, we get to put ourselves in a position where we become a champion of the people, which then goes larger and larger and larger.
We're still talking about in character, out of character. What do we want? Because we keep getting tied back into what are we doing in character? What are we doing in character? That wasn't the question posed.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, out of character. Like out of character. My entire want is to just let the dice fall where they may. On the character decisions and the party discussing in character what it is that they want to do, because. In the end, it's the fulfillment of that story, whether it be a good end or a bad end or whatever, just seeing that story through.
Trust me as your DM to give you a fulfilling story, as much as I hope I can offer you. So that should be inherent in anything that you do. I mean, you all could just go and pick flowers, you know, start a business and, you know, whatever, sell clay pots on the roadside. I'll make it as fulfilling as possible.
Flames.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that sounds like a bad time. I don't want that out of a D&D game.
That is the thing that I do expect from you, Manny, as a DM, is like that the story will be fulfilling, and that goes without saying. What I mean, like when I say, you know, is that to see the fulfilling story through to the end, whatever that story may be, and then that story should actually be forwarded by what the characters are actually motivated to do.
Well,
because I could very easily say that, you know, I want to see a lot of tactical political combat with high value.
Let's review some options that you have then. So in looking at yourselves, I mean, mechanically you're level 10. That does put you above a great many people in the world. Not everyone. There's always a bigger fish. There will always be a bigger fish too. I guarantee you. There will always be a bigger fish. What can 5? But right now, if we're talking in character, what can 4 people do with what you've been through and what you know and what you have?
It can only affect local. Only.
So,
because we
Flowerfield family.
Keep it local.
They know you. You probably don't have the best relationship, but there was definitely seeds of intrigue with the family. And of course, Tibbet certainly didn't mind you all, and he's kind of the key to the Flowerfield family riches anyway.
Exactly.
Now, if you want to, and Tibba, working on a small scale in Flowerfield or in that general area is of the greater threats, is probably going to bring you into contact with more vampires than anything else.
Yep.
Go to Browbeat. You are ingratiated with a family in Browbeat. In fact, you're ingratiated with the neighborhood because Bright, that dwarven mother, absolutely fell in love with you. She gave you a recipe book. Let alone the family that you helped, and the people who knew you. You weren't really driven out of town. You even helped with the rescue. Now, if you go and ingratiate yourself with the locals who are providing a good amount of quarried stone, you're probably going to run into more fae. Doesn't mean you can't run into vampires or anyone else.
Yeah.
You're probably going to run into more fae. And of course, if you run into fae, you'll probably run into vampires, etc., and so forth, like what we previously discussed. But locally, you can be agents of fortune or change or action in Flowerfield, in Browbeat. If you go to Green Shield, Green Shield would probably be another fae-centric story, or if you want to go back, because it sounds like you at least one of you had a grudge against a tree, you could use Green Shield as a waypoint to step up and take your game to Show Neroth.
Yeah.
People in Green Shield know you, especially you, Mordecai. You ingratiated yourself with the townsfolk there.
It's true.
Now, thinking beyond this, Norlai, I mean, it's not that you're no one, it's a big city. People know you. We established this already through your role playing, through your contacts, through your downtime. So you and Mr. Halver are a known quantity here in this city. And to that extension, kind of vis-a-vis Bright, Delis of the Blue Flame is known amongst the gnomes in Uct. And also you have a connection in Uct through Bright, if you wanted to pursue that, and go there and investigate what's happening, because something is happening, because everything is happening everywhere. And if you really want to, take it back to the very beginning with the Lellywellyn's Gamble. Who's to say you can't work aboard that ship and travel all around Mesotopia, fighting, protecting, learning, investigating, because you're hitting every port city in the sea on a very well-established and popular ship. And you're the big swinging swords of that ship. Because the captain likes you. Well, I mean, Celine and Bright, but the captain enjoyed. You have a good reputation. There's always the need for security aboard a ship, especially in these trying times, and even more so with people who've had encounters with Shadowhar soldiers or naval vessels. And so it could allow you to stay local, but also hit up a lot of major places.
Port.
You hop port to port.
Yeah.
You have a ton of options in front of you to start, what's the phrase? Think global, act local. Something like that?
Yeah.
So, you've been to a lot of different places. You've been to Mask of Flowers. You're in Mask of Horns. Bright's already started to find job opportunities here. Heck, go to a casino. There's a casino in the mountains if you want to work in a casino. There is a multi-denominational religious monastery also in the mountains. If you want to live the life of an ascetic, seek enlightenment, seek knowledge. And you could, you're not known there, but who is known there? Because people go there to either lose themselves and become one with their philosophy or their patron or deity or whatever, or find something, if not themselves. And that is a locale, and by virtue of what it is, It's a destination. People have to go there to get the services offered. And so if you position yourself there, people will come there because they have to for the things that they want. Same with the casino. It's not that there's not other casinos in Mesomaska, because when I was creating those, when I was rolling for the different like principalities or whatever, it's like whatever, like half of them had gambling as a major attraction. But and so on the border of I think the two of them, there's like a central, like it's the Las Vegas style, like it is the Casort Rosino. Casort Rosino. I'm making up words now. Yes, it's called the Casort Rosino.
It's a good name for it.
But if you don't want to deal with, maybe monetarily poor but rich in spirit people of the monastery, maybe you want to go to where people are like, 1,000 gold, sure, whatever. I got pocket change, and now we're talking the big swingers of society. We're talking the people who have money to spare and are willing to take chances, where, information is also peddled, just like, goods and services of various varieties. And so act, or think global, but where do you want to act? Act locally. If everything is going to most likely encounter everything else to some degree,
pick a direction.
Well, I do have a direction, actually. So I was going to bring it up in character. Because I do have a couple of directions that we could go, because my entire thing, right, is a lot of the characters here, we all have these little things that we want to do, right? Just speaking in an our character term, we have all these little things that we want to do. Sort of. Celine, for example, wants to go to Old Point. Mordecai is, although this is a larger thing, looking for, looking for a cure for vampirism, so that he can be alive again.
A lead would be nice.
Or a lead on that. Bright has fulfilled her lead, but maybe it's left her with more questions than answered. Norali's found her brother, but has found out that he's definitely not the person that she once knew. We all have these little leads, and I think my out of character, like hell, there's even leads with the characters that have left us. Like, where is the Revenant Raphael running around at the moment?
Yep. You want to learn
Jade,
about the other patrons? Track down Bambardelus and his sons, and chop wood for a while. Protect a lumber camp.
Both Jade and
about
Seltur,
the Fae and the vampires, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, both Jade and Seltur also left stuff on the table.
Was that Matty? I didn't hear what you said.
Bambardelus and his sons knew about the Fae and vampires, and were very, like, they're against them. Like, they're aware of them, and
My out of character thing is this. I think to fulfill my out of character desire of seeing a fulfilling story through to the end, I think the main thing that we should do is focus on these little things that our characters already have. In whichever direction that leads us is the direction that leads us. But I think, like, the direction that we pick should be something that, in character, one or more characters already has a lead to look for. I mean, as far as the vampirism go, both Celine and Mordecai have investments in that. In the Fae thing, both Bright and Celine, and to a lesser extent Noralai, have things in that. With Shonaruth, well, everyone has a big stake in that, because Shonaruth has showed themselves to not really discriminate as far as the kinds of things that they are doing is concerned.
Yep.
So, I think that, despite my fumbling and rambling over my words, is what I want most. Is that we just take one of these little hooks that
you just gotta tell me which one. And I'll tell you, I hope this actually comes across as a big relief. There is no correct choice. I am not fishing. I'm not fishing for something. I'm not trying to wink. I really hope you go in this direction. There is no correct choice. There's what you want to. There's what you want to do, Right now, your big fish choose a little pond.
Yep. Well,
so
there is something that we could do immediately. Something that we were actually planning on doing before the party got separated. Because we were headed for Oldport. Because who else in Mesamaska would know more, not only about the vampire, but now about Celine's current condition, and, you know, might have knowledge on other such religious things than a foremost religious order. With that, there was also the point of visiting the monastery, because who else would have that kind of knowledge? Because that's the thing too. Really close. Like, we do.
Well,
we know a lot.
I mean, you're here right now, so you could go to Oldport, but
yeah, it's somewhat close. But that's the thing, right? Where we have a lot of knowledge. We know a lot of things, but in terms of knowledge, we are actually very knowledgeable. We have a bunch of these little dots in our heads, but we don't have a lot of the connecting lines just yet.
We also have a hard time finding a way to implement that knowledge, right? We can have all the knowledge in the world, but if we can't do anything with it...
If we can't apply it, then, it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
Which, I mean...
You just gotta apply it,
maybe going and visiting these places might give the characters in-character ideas as to how to apply the knowledge that they have. And maybe, in exchange for the knowledge, the party will accrue a bit of, power and renown along the way.
Then, as you're gonna have to get going here in a couple minutes, Lethality. To wrap things up, then, I mean, you've talked about the concept. I completely agree. And as your DM, I will give you the best damn story that I can, with your choice. And I want you to know that there is no one exact correct choice.
Yep.
And all paths, closer or further, are going to lead to a conclusion. And you know what, Coffee?
Yep.
You said it best at the end of this. And because I want this too. By the time that the story ends, I do sincerely hope, spoilers, that all of you are big damn heroes, and you're gonna look back on the, year and 2 weeks that. You're gonna look back on the story, however long it lasts, and you're gonna say, you know what? There's times where I didn't like the story. There's times where it kicked our asses. There's times where I laughed, times where I cried. But when I look back on it, and I'm sitting on my golden throne of whatever, of victory, of metaphorical or whatever, and you're going to enjoy it. Because I want you to enjoy it too. But I got to get you there. And I can run in every direction because I cheat. I know where everything is. I know what's happening everywhere. Like I'm some godlike being in the world.
You actually have to choose a direction where we can plot a course. We have to decide which way that's going.
How about this? Because there is no one correct decision. All of you are invested in a lot of different things. Why don't I apply pressure to Darkwolf, especially being the newbie to D&D amongst all of you here? Darkwolf, would it be unfair if I asked you where should the small pond be to build into something greater, whatever it is? And I know you all have plans, and we'll get to it. Do you want to save Tiba? Do you want to go to a casino? Do you want to work on a ship and travel all around the sea? Darkwolf, the sweet, pure, innocent girl, untainted by the machinations of gods and elder patrons and years of cynicism after playing D&D for so long. You are fresh, and you are so fresh and so clean. So I want you to, if the rest of you are okay with me doing this, Darkwolf, I want you to choose.
I'd rather we discuss this instead of we just.
Choose the form of the destroyer.
I mean, if you discuss it, then discuss it. But by this coming Tuesday, I want you to start somewhere. There's no one correct position. So what would be fun? What will make you feel like a hero? What will make you feel like you're succeeding?
Place.
Every place offers opportunity. What type of opportunity do you want? Do you want to explode with wild magic? Go to Flowerfield. Do you want to explode with magic? Go anywhere, but but
well, wild magic especially, because Oh, I'm just gonna roll 3D when. Oh, they're all. Fuck.
So, to the newbie of the group, to keep you playing, to keep you motivated.
Well, I mean, I do remember, like, because I've been reading what Narla's been saying in game chat here, that you know, keeping things to the personal route, so that, you know, the kinds of relationships that the characters have with each other and with the outside world being the fore.
Yeah, I think
Like,
it's maybe a little unfair to say, okay, Norlai, decide the direction of the game for the rest of the game right now.
Decide
it wouldn't be for the rest of the game. It's the starting point. We've leveled up. We've had X amount of time. Where am I dropping you?
I mean, we don't really need to be dropped, right? I mean, we're in Mask of Horns.
Yeah,
Unless...
That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, we're already in Mask of Horns.
And Celine is
and build off.
Then if you got to discuss it, then I want a direction from you. I don't care what the direction is.
You will have it.
Okay.
You will have it.
Thank you.
We will make sure that at the very least by the time we reconvene again, that you will direction.
Even if it's like 5 minutes until we start. Hopefully it's not, but even if it is, because I'm guilty of this too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can all maybe agree to put in some extra time inside RP this week. Because I mean, we do have a lot of talky stuff. I mean, we covered a lot of that today, but we still have a lot of talkiness and, you know, just kind of hashing through things to go through.
In character, yeah.
Because we do kind of have to decide now that the party is back together, where do we want to go? And I think it is more fair for everybody that be something that everyone decides on. But I know we definitely don't want to go into next week with us all throwing up our hands and going, okay, so now what do we do?
Okay.
Right? And if nothing is going to come find us at Mr. Halver's Magic Hut, then we have to go find something else. And now that we know that it is our responsibility to strike out and decide where to go, I think we can have a pretty good idea of that by probably Sunday or Monday would be my guess at the latest.
I absolutely promise you, if you all just stay in Mr. Halver's hut forever until you die, then no one will come after you, because you would have removed yourself from the machinations of everyone else who's getting what they want in the world. And so, Mr. Halver's is a safe spot, but it's until you go back into the big scary world. So, all right.
Yeah, but if hobbits never left the Shire, there wouldn't be any story.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
All right. Well, Lethality, you got to get going to Gathering of Nerds. What is your theme and your level tonight?
The prompt is grid, and the level is level 10.
Oh, all right then. The grid.
Good level.
Okay.
I actually need to decide on what I'm going to play tonight, because I have no idea. We can live in about an hour.
Then we'll break here. I thought this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking to you about your mechanics, about your characters, having that, you know, the RP and the interaction as we did. The party's back together.
I know there's a lot of
Derek,
side RP that I want to
side RP.
Yeah. Yeah. So
there's going to be a lot of side RP.
I hope so. And Derek, we'll discuss now that we're the traction, like we're getting back involved into the story, the pursuit, the hunt. We've talked about themes, we've talked about mechanics. We can weave your character into the story and get you involved in there, since it's something that we can talk about and find a way to, you know, they meet you on the road to wherever they're going or whatnot. But we'll find out the destination, I guess, here in a little bit. Will that work for you?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Well then, I'm gonna get up and take a personal break, and when I come back, if you all want to have table talk, that's fine. But until I see the signal from you all at Gathering of Nerds Lethality, as I went out to my vacation playing some Secret of Mana, and I'd love to play that with you all and do, you know, some JRPG stuff until I see your signal, and then we'll come over and raid you.
Okay. I think that sounds good.
All right.
that out.
All right, so everyone out there, I'm going to take a break, and we'll come back, and I'll get everything switched over, and we'll play some video games, and then go raid Gathering of Nerds.